Hello, today's video we have the following content.
The internet exploded. As the lights came on and the camera slowly zoomed in, the most talked about moment of the entire event unfolded. Liu Xiaoxu and Guo Yuxin walked hand in hand onto the stage to accept the Best Actor award. There was no deliberate promotion, no excessive sentimentality, just a natural hand-holding gesture, yet it instantly ignited a frenzy of discussion online. Comments flooded the screen, social media trending topics soared, and viewers almost simultaneously exclaimed, "This moment is so real." From the audience to the center of the stage, the two walked side by side. Liu Xiaoxu's steps were steady, Guo Yuxin's expression composed, the unspoken understanding between them was amplified under the spotlight. When they stood still and bowed to the audience in gratitude, the applause wasn't just for the award, but also for their work and perseverance along the way. This award wasn't built on hype, but rather the best response to the idea that short dramas can also have cinematic quality. And the starting point for all of this was Summer of Fendra. Each episode of this drama is only a little over 10 minutes long, yet it manages to build up emotions layer by layer within that limited space. It doesn't rely on dramatic plot twists or a barrage of memorable lines. Instead, it slowly accumulates weight through details. Liu Xiaoxu and Guo Yuxin's performances feel more like they were living in front of the camera than deliberately acting. The most unforgettable scene is undoubtedly the one set in the pouring rain. Night falls, and the rain pours down. Yuxin, played by Liu Xiaoxu, carries Bai Qingri, running towards the hospital in the rain. The camera shakes slightly, his breathing is swallowed by the sound of the rain, and raindrops slide down his chin, indistinguishable from tears. He whispers repeatedly, "I can't let anything happen to you." There were no shouts, no background music to push the emotions, yet the audience felt a tightness in their chests. It wasn't a heroic declaration, but rather the bottom line and unwavering resolve of an ordinary person in dire straits. Guo Yuxin's response in this scene was equally restrained. She didn't deliberately portray vulnerability, but rather subtly conveyed the character's dependence and reassurance with slightly trembling fingertips and a bewildered yet trusting gaze. It was precisely this restrained acting that made the emotions feel real and not exaggerated. Many viewers wrote in the comments, "This part doesn't feel like watching a drama, it feels like peeking into someone else's life," and that's why, when the two appeared together again at the awards ceremony, the emotions naturally carried over into reality. It wasn't a projection of the characters' filters, but rather the audience's instinctive recognition of good acting. Some say their chemistry wasn't flamboyant, but had a powerful aftertaste, not a stunning first impression, but an increasingly captivating one. In their acceptance speeches, both of them mentioned the dignity of microdramas. Liu Xiaoxu said that short doesn't mean light. Limited time actually tests an actor's precise control over emotions even more. Guo Yuxin expressed her hope that the audience would remember the character itself, not just the label. These brief words revealed their clear-headedness and appreciation for acting. From Summer of Fendra to the awards stage, this step was not noisy, but solid. Now, the audience's expectations go beyond a single collaboration. They imagine more possibilities for the future. Will they meet again in different genres? Will they bring this delicate and restrained emotion to a wider audience on a bigger stage? The answer remains to be seen, but what is certain is that this hand-in-hand appearance has become one of the most memorable moments of the year. Even more remarkable is that she didn't unleash her emotions in a hysterical outburst, but instead chose to collapse inward. It was a collapse almost imperceptible. Her shoulders slumped slightly, her gaze began to wander, and the curve of her lips changed from restrained gentleness to a subtle coldness. The audience wasn't informed by the plot that she had changed. Rather, they were unconsciously drawn into her state of mind, only realizing later that the character had completely shifted her position. Especially in several confrontation scenes, Guo Yuxin's handling was extremely restrained. She didn't raise her voice or deliberately intensify the conflict, but instead used short, precise pauses to create psychological pressure. That pressure didn't come from the other person's strength, but from her resolute determination and silence. When she looked directly at the other person, her eyes held no anger, only a cold, almost cruel clarity. At this moment, the character's darkness was no longer an emotional breakdown, but a choice made after recognizing reality. This acting style also amplified the character's tragic sense infinitely. Because the audience clearly knew that if she hadn't been repeatedly pushed into a corner, she could have continued to be gentle. Therefore, when she finally made her seemingly cold decision, the audience didn't feel disgust, but rather an indescribable heartache and understanding. It was a complex emotion of "I disagree, but I understand you," and the ability to evoke this empathy precisely demonstrates the success of the performance. From a professional perspective, Guo Yuxin's understanding of the camera is remarkably mature. She understands that close-up shots require subtraction, as every subtle expression is magnified. Therefore, she chooses to compress emotions to their smallest possible units before releasing them little by little. This precise control is rare in the microdrama genre, and is key to her ability to quickly establish a believable character. It's precisely because of this depth in her performance that her emotions truly clash with Liu Xiaoxu's. One is inwardly restrained and calmly composed, the other outwardly restrained yet inwardly turbulent. These two completely different acting logics don't devour each other in the same frame, instead, they complement each other. They are not competing to see who exerts more effort, but rather breathing at the same frequency. Perhaps this is why audiences repeatedly rewatch and discuss the performance, not because the plot is melodramatic, but because the characters are so real. Guo Yuxin's performance proves that so-called darkening is never a sudden change of heart, but rather a self-protective act after countless acts of forbearance. And such a character, once brought to life, is hard to forget. It is this dual stability of professionalism on screen and self-restraint off-screen that makes their awards all the more meaningful. In an industry with a fast pace and rapidly changing topics, what is truly scarce is never momentary exposure, but rather a long-term, trustworthy work ethic. Guo Yuxin's sharing, seemingly just small details in life, quietly build trust through daily interactions. Liu Xiaoxu's one extra take, though seemingly insignificant, is the most basic and sincere insistence on the quality of the work. Crew members often say privately that both are actors who won't cause trouble for others. They arrive on time, do their homework beforehand, don't occupy unnecessary emotional space, and don't impose their personal states on the team. This quiet and self-conscious cooperation maintains a rare balance of efficiency and relaxation on set. Because of this, when the camera actually moves, emotions can be fully preserved, rather than being consumed by chaos and impatience. More importantly, this steadiness does not mean conservatism. On the contrary, it provides a sufficiently safe foundation for the performance, allowing actors to dare to go further in their roles. Guo Yuxin can confidently push her characters into gray areas because she knows she always maintains a proper balance. Liu Xiaoxu can repeatedly test the limits of emotion because he believes repetition is not a waste, but a necessary path to approaching reality. Therefore, when they stand on the awards stage, their composure is not something they've temporarily acquired, but the result of long-term choices. There's no restless competitive spirit, nor the anxiety of eagerly proving themselves, only a firm belief in doing better next time. Perhaps it's this unhurried pace that gives the audience a long-lost sense of security. You can confidently entrust your time to them. No wonder industry insiders commented that this award is more like an early affirmation. It affirms not just a single work, but a clearly visible path of growth, treating every shoot as part of a long-term career, and every detail as a contract with the audience. Such actors may not become overnight sensations, but they are destined to go far. And looking back, today's trophy may just be the prologue.
Thank you for watching the video. If this is your first time watching a video, please subscribe to the channel, like and leave your comments to help us develop your channel.